In this episode of Down to Earth, hydrogen, fuel of the future or a false promise? Is the planet's most abundant element the best alternative to petrol?
Today, we are at a turning point in automobile history.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Humans have long used hydrogen to blast rockets into space. Today, the gas is running hundreds of vehicles on solid ground.
Ganz einfach.
It's very simple. We insert the pump and that's it. The whole process takes 4 to 5 minutes.
Circa 4 bis 5 Minuten.
Why stop at cars? Hydrogen could eventually power trains, planes, or even submarines. Its major advantage, the only emission, is water.
We're not
going to run the planet with a hydrogen fuel cell or light our homes with one, but it's these actions which are going to help us move towards a world without carbon.
We're down to earth in Berlin, Germany. This remote-controlled car runs on hydrogen, and soon this gas could be powering the real-life version on a scale never seen before. Many years in the making, hydrogen-fueled vehicles are now hitting the market on a large scale. November 2014, Toyota's daring foray into hydrogen-fueled transport.
It's a car of the next century, a car that leads to a society that uses energy from hydrogen. We believe we've developed a car that is not only good for the environment, but that is also fun, quiet, comfortable, and a pleasure to drive.
The Mirai, Japanese for future, is the car maker's first step into a small, unproven market. Sales have already begun in Japan. Europe and the United States will soon follow. Its price tag, €46,500.
There hasn't been a lot of effort yet to really make a marketable, retail-ready fuel cell car. But here we see Toyota taking a step in that direction. We're putting a retail price on a car, which is something that's a little bit new. So we're seeing that, that the fuel cell, hydrogen-powered cars are becoming more of a creeping closer to reality.
Others are also in the race. Honda's hydrogen sedan came out in 2008, but only a handful were delivered in California. Hyundai says it hopes to lease 1,000 hydrogen vehicles in the next year. All of the cars have one thing in common: they run on what's known as a fuel cell. How does it work? We've come to one of Paris's museums to find out.
Welcome to the Palais de la Découverte. You've come here to learn a little about hydrogen and the fuel cell.
Despite its abundance on Earth, hydrogen doesn't exist freely in nature. Today's class starts with a lesson on how to produce the gas.
In water there are hydrogen atoms, but we have to break it down via chemical transformation known as electrolysis.
Inside this machine, an electric current passes through water. It's split into two parts. To the left, oxygen. To the right, hydrogen.
Now we're going to see how we can use this hydrogen gas in a fuel cell.
The process inside a fuel cell is the reverse of electrolysis. Now hydrogen enters from one side, oxygen from the other. A chemical reaction strips the atoms of their electrons, producing power. The only other output is water. That's why cars with a fuel cell are described as zero emissions.
It's interesting when compared to fossil fuels. No carbon dioxide emissions in the atmosphere. It's just a cycle of water. We take water, we separate it to make hydrogen, we reuse the hydrogen with oxygen, and we have just water again. So it's completely clean energy.
When it turns green, I accelerate. And immediately we're off.
100 kilometers per hour in less than 10 seconds. We're back in Germany with one of the world's earliest adopters of the technology. Heinz Troschitsch has been leasing this hydrogen car for a year.
I like everything that's new and which helps preserve the environment. I'm really thrilled with this technology.
Und ich bin von dieser Technologie regelrecht verzaubert.
I can drive for between 300 and 350 kilometers. After that, I have to refill the tank with hydrogen, so it can be transformed into electricity.
There are only 5 hydrogen fuel stations across Berlin, meaning Heinz is forced to drive 40 minutes to fill up his car. But this station is much closer and will soon offer hydrogen alongside petrol and natural gas.
Wir fahren ein Wasserstofffahrzeug.
I have a hydrogen car and I'm impatiently waiting to be able to refuel at your station. Can you tell me when it will be possible?
Wann das in etwa der Fall sein wird?
When the authorities give us the green light. But when that will happen, we don't know. Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks.
3 Wochen.
It costs around €40 to fill a tank. And with the infrastructure already in place, Heinz shows us how it normally works.
Ist ganz einfach.
It's very simple. We insert the pump and that's it.
So, der Vorgang
The whole process takes 4 to 5 minutes.
Wasserstoff dauert circa 4 bis 5 Minuten. Ganz normal wie
It's
jeder
just like at any other station. A driver wouldn't know the difference.
Bemerkt eigentlich nichts.
The difference is found here underneath the car at the exhaust pipe, which emits only water. Other features of fuel cell cars: they have a range of 500 kilometres. Refuelling times are a matter of minutes, but there's still a hefty price tag. By contrast, an all-electric plug-in has a shorter range. Charging times are considerably longer. The starting price is, however, more reasonable. The EU has pledged to slash carbon emissions by 40% by 2030. To get there, we'll need to power cars differently. Germany is betting on hydrogen. So how far ahead is Germany compared to the rest of Europe in implementing these hydrogen-fueled vehicles?
Germany is pretty much ahead at the moment. We have more than 15 hydrogen stations in Germany. We have a highly respected demonstration project with more than 100 hydrogen cars in Germany.
1.4 billion euros. That's how much the German government and industry partners have put aside to test whether hydrogen is the way to go.
Hydrogen cars are not brand new, they've been in development for a long time. What makes you think that now's the time for them to shine?
I think it's now because governments have realized that they have to invest in the infrastructure. It is not only that you need good hydrogen cars, we have good hydrogen cars now, you have to invest a lot to build up an infrastructure. You need fueling stations, you need hundreds of fueling stations in one country. And this is a big invest, which I believe pays out in the end, not only for the customer, but also for our environment.
So you believe hydrogen is the future, right?
Hydrogen is the future.
Of course, hydrogen is often billed as a clean way to power our cars, but there's still a catch. Only if it's produced from renewable sources like these wind turbines. The problem is that today 95% of it comes from fossil fuels, meaning for the moment hydrogen transport is not as green as it's touted to be. This station is trying to change that. Soon the hydrogen produced here will come from wind energy. The next step is building more stations so more people will buy the cars.
At the moment, we can already drive from Hamburg to Munich using hydrogen. And soon, with our new station in Bavaria, the grid will be even more connected. The idea is to be able to drive across the whole of Germany with a fuel cell car.
Behind this station is Germany's multi-million euro test site. Here the hydrogen is made and compressed to 700 times its normal pressure.
Hydrogen itself, the molecules have a very low density and we have to compress it up to high levels so we can store a lot of energy into a small storage room in the car. So we get a high range with the fuel cell cars. You can see here is the hydrogen bundles where the compressed hydrogen is being filled in.
Using hydrogen gas at such extreme pressure has been criticised as dangerous. Those involved in this project say it's safe.
We have to fulfill many safety regulations here, and the refueling experience is the same as it is with gasoline. We didn't have any incidents so far, and it's very strict safety regulations, and I don't see any higher potential of danger than with gasoline refuelings.
Back in France, we've come to see one business that's opened a whole new door for hydrogen technology. McPhee has revolutionised the way we stock the gas by turning it into a solid form. Each of these discs is like a sponge filled with hydrogen.
In a disc like this, you have 600 liters of hydrogen stored in a solid form. Now, if I add a flame to this disc, it won't burn, it won't catch on fire. So you have a very safe way of storing hydrogen.
In chemistry class, it would go like this. Take magnesium Mg and add hydrogen H to produce magnesium hydride and heat. From there, the applications are numerous. While the discs are too heavy for cars, they can be used to stock excess electricity.
Our system allows us to use renewable energy, which is not constant. By that I mean it's produced when there is sun and wind, when we don't necessarily need this electricity, this energy. But when this happens, we can produce hydrogen and stock it in these discs, and then use the hydrogen later with a fuel cell or inject it straight into a gas network.
2, 1, and go!
Hydrogen's potential is spurring innovation at every turn. This is the City Joule, a fuel cell car that can travel 1,354 kilometres with the equivalent energy of 1 litre of petrol.
It's a world record!
Its garage is in fact a classroom at a high school in Nantes in the west of France. The City Joule was imagined, developed and built for racing by students under the guidance of their passionate teacher.
You have a car that's curved, a little like soap, where all the curves are smooth and the tail is like a drop of water, where the air that makes contact with the car moves to the back without losing any energy. If we have a look inside, we see it has a butterfly door like the 1955 Mercedes. Like with a normal car, we turn on the electric motor. I can also use my headlights, turn on my indicators or my hazard lights, and here you find the horn.
All of this functions via a fuel cell designed by students from a partner university. Their challenge, do more with less.
We want to achieve performance while saving energy using this fuel cell. So we went back to zero, we redesigned how it was assembled, we studied the number of cells needed to have enough power, because every detail is important in the race.
From Nantes to the French capital. Today the team has travelled to the Ministry of Ecology after a personal invitation from the minister herself. The City Joule and its siblings are the stars.
It's terrific, those cars in the courtyard. Microjoule, Polyjoule, City Joule, these are the projects that are remarkable. They're being noticed. I often observe in France that there are many pioneers who anticipate the direction of national politics, just like you've done.
Unlike Germany, France doesn't have a single hydrogen fuelling station, and the country's new energy transition law makes only a minor mention of the technology. We ask why France is on the back foot.
The problem isn't whether or not we're behind. What's important is to know how we can accelerate, and as we speed up the energy transition, we're going to accelerate all methods of clean transport. What we're missing today is the distribution network, and we need to make it obligatory that all fuel stations have a hydrogen pump and a recharge facility.
France has put more money towards electric plug-in cars instead. Hydrogen transport is younger, and where it will take us is still not clear.
We can be sure we're not going to run the planet with hydrogen, but it's going to have its place in the energy transition. There's no miracle solution. We need all the different types of energy. We have to use hydrogen like we have to use the others, like natural gas, like electricity, and, in spite of everything, even fossil fuels. But each one has its place, and each one has the best way for it to be used.
With a maximum speed of 90 kilometres an hour, it's not too hard to imagine the city jewel driving down one of our streets. But for now, this is just a prototype with a budget in the hundreds of thousands of euros. Just like all hydrogen-fueled transport, the city jewel has a long but promising road ahead.